If you're a patriot of this beautiful nation, I want to hear you say yeah!
Okay, so thank you guys for coming on to the Elephant in the Room. I am your host, Jacinta Robin, and the elephant in the room today is
Frank Valentine with Firearms of America.
Is that the best last name ever? Like, for real. It is awesome.
Thanks.
So let's get into this, Mr. Frank. I mean, when I saw your page, I'll be honest, and I'm gonna pull the female card here, okay? When I saw your page, I was like, dang, he's just all about guns. Like, whoa, that's solid, you know? And it's the weirdest thing. Like, my reaction was like immediately to recoil, but then I kind of thought about it, and I was like, how sweet is that? Like, he's just really all about protecting, you know? And that's kind of the goal here. You just have this really, I would say, charismatic way of talking about guns.
No, thank
and
you.
it just makes it so like welcoming in a very different way. You're like, okay, yeah, this is not that bad, and okay, maybe I should learn a little bit more about this, you know? So you described gun as a passion. Can you kind of like talk about like I guess, how did that passion start? Like, what kind of sparked that passion?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, you mentioned one word, protecting. And to me, guns, I mean, if you think about it, it's just a piece of steel and maybe a plastic, if we're talking about
Yes.
Glocks, right?
Yes, that's true.
It's just a tool. But I think what it represents as a core value, that's really where I get my passion from.
Wow.
Because to me, guns, they represent, first of all, on the individual level, right? If you're talking about just us as individuals, responsibility, right?
Okay.
Because, for example, for me, having a gun, knowing that I have this tool in my hands, which allows me to protect my family, to protect my household, to protect someone whose life is in danger. I have that ability to do it because I have that tool.
Wow.
Gives me the responsibility. And I
Okay.
think that's what separates most of the times people on the right and people on the left. People on the right, they prefer to have that responsibility. They want freedom.
Yes.
And people on the left, they think that government is always supposed to be doing something for them,
For them.
including keeping them safe. That's probably why they think that they can just get rid of guns out of the society and their society will be perfectly safe, which obviously is not how it works, because criminals, they they don't
Yeah,
follow the law, right? They're naturally criminals,
exactly. It seems like the places with the highest crime are the ones with the strictest
the
gun
strictest
laws.
gun laws. Exactly.
So it's
Exactly. Because
strange
people
how,
who,
you know, that people would equate lack of guns with safety.
yeah, exactly. And then on more of a macro level, as a society, guns, they represent that freedom. And I have seen it personally myself, because I come from the country where there are absolutely no guns. And it's a post-communist socialist country.
Okay, talk a little bit more about your background regarding
So
your commute, you know, to the States.
yeah, of course. So I came here to United States of America 12 years ago as a refugee from one of the stands, so Middle Eastern area,
Cool,
right?
cool.
And the country, they were part of USSR until 1991, and then they separated from USSR. They kind of shifted from being communist to being socialist, which is really the same thing. It's just a new modern name. Still, the
Right.
government owns the factories, it owns the healthcare, owns education, it owns everything. It owns the land, and in a way, it owns people too.
Okay.
And the very interesting thing is that I always tell people when I talk to them here is that over there, if you open the Constitution, it is a very nice constitution. There are freedoms of speech.
Mm,
freedoms of, free press,
okay.
expression, religious beliefs, everything, all of these things you can find.
Okay.
There's only one thing you cannot find in that Constitution, and it's the Second Amendment.
Really?
Yes, the Second Amendment.
Wow. How interesting.
Yeah, so to me, guns, they represent that freedom where people as a society can have the opportunity to protect their constitutional rights. It's kind of like a
Wow.
backup, you know,
Yes.
First Amendment.
I literally just saw someone talking about that today. They were saying how the Second Amendment was there in case the First Amendment had failed.
Exactly. And I mean, everything else really too.
Yeah, it just it's the backbone for all the other protections because if you can't enforce that the protections will work, if you can't
Exactly.
enforce that the Constitution will work, then what do you have? So it's necessary to have the Second Amendment. I did not. I'm just really getting red pilled right here because legit, I didn't realize how essential this Second Amendment is. Um, and then it was just really odd to me how it was second. I was thinking, okay, well, why isn't the Fourth Amendment, the fifth one? No,
Yeah,
it's
right.
right up there with the right to be yourself,
Yeah,
and talk.
exactly. Hmm.
I was blown away. So, yeah, it's a real issue. It is absolutely a real issue. And it kind of makes sense to me hearing all this as to why this is something you would focus on. Because it's basically one of our bedrock rights. Like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, yeah, it's almost like I, honestly, I think the Constitution of the United States of America, the way it was created, the way it was written, I don't know if it can get any better because it
wow.
is built on the right values. And if you look at those values that are ingrained into the Constitution, they're all conservative values.
Yeah.
That's why whenever because, as an immigrant, typically you come into the United States of America, you either go to California, New York, Illinois,
Florida.
blue states, right? Florida, yes, but Miami most of the times.
Yes,
Blue,
yes.
very blue.
This is true.
So, of course, you have all of that wave of information
I got
from
you.
sources like CNN, MSNBC, and
Yes.
you can imagine
That
how
would
they
do.
portray
I
everything.
got you. Wow. So they got us at the docks then, right? At the
They
ports.
get us at the docks 100%, yes. Because for a very long time, I was almost questioning. It was kind of like a cultural shock where you live outside of the United States and everybody keeps talking how great America is. And then you come here, you live in New York, and you start questioning why, how, all of this.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
all of this, the way media portrays it, anti-American media, really.
And
If you
then, yeah, exactly. And you're living it.
Yeah, exactly. It took me to actually travel through the United States, and see states like Kentucky,
Yeah.
Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina,
Red states.
red states, exactly. And then I was like, all right, so now it makes
This
sense.
is what they're talking about. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool, cool. Yeah, my dad is an immigrant. So he came from Haiti under the Duvalier regime. He had to
Hmm.
escape, um, and he came to Florida. But I guess his first landing place actually was New York. He stayed in New York pretty much all his youth.
Hmm.
Eventually, he came to Florida. Um, and he was talking about, just they literally have a socialistic setup in the areas where a lot of immigrants would come. I mean,
Hmm.
eventually, he did well, but when you're coming in and you have nothing, you're coming into these areas where you were really looking for the best of America, and people are
Hmm.
taking advantage of that.
Yep.
Um, so, like, let me ask you this. So, when you came and you saw kind of the state of things, did that make you feel like almost these people weren't conditioned to even live the American dream once you saw what it looked like in other states? Like, do you try to like think about the people that you met first when you migrated here and compared it to the other states and said, well, wow, like, what can
Yeah,
I do to help them realize this here circle's not living the American dream? We need to try again, guys. Okay.
absolutely, 100%. I lived in South Bronx for a while
Yeah.
when I just one of my first, and I've seen obviously crime, homelessness, all of these things. I still felt like it was way better than where I came from, but you're 100% correct. The mentality, the victimhood mentality, is so strong in people who live in areas, in poor areas with high unemployment rate, with high crime rates. It makes you feel bad for them a lot.
Right.
And you definitely feel like you want to do something about it, but this is the reason why those areas are the way they are. It's the people, and I always say that it's the people that, if your neighborhood is trash,
Do something about it.
who's to blame? You don't blame the government, you don't blame the politicians. In fact, the politicians, who puts them in there, who votes for them? The people of the district. Yeah, it's the people. We select the politicians. Why would we blame
Wow.
them? We selected them.
Wow.
You know,
So,
it has to come down to the individual level and somehow make people realize that, I need to take responsibility for my own life, and I actually can accomplish a lot of things because there is really nothing holding me back. And of course, we have media that tells us that because you're an immigrant, or because you're a certain color of skin, or you're a certain whatever background, that's it. The system is racist.
I have
You
a
know,
question for you then. So, when you're coming into an environment like my dad had to, coming to an environment where the mass of people just have this dreary outlook on life, do you think that impacts their will to try to change things? Because the reason why I ask this is because if it's the red states that have lighter gun restrictions and the blue states don't, right? Why
mhm.
aren't the blue states, which seem to see the most crime, trying to get more rights on guns? Like, that just doesn't seem to change. And then why would Democrat states prefer to have these gun restrictions that seem to not really mitigate their gun safety problem? Like, how I don't see us at a point of a civil war. God help us. Things are looking crazier, crazier every day. But
Yes.
in the Democratic states, I don't see guns as being such a problem to have. And yet they're just hard pressed. They're just like, no, 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 no guns. Like, is it a broad thing? Or are they trying to, like, one day eradicate all the guns? Is it, that sort of thing? Or just on the micro level, what would that benefit them? Is it a mindset? Are they trying to show you that they're the ones who are going to protect you and not you? I'm just confused about that because I just see this trend and it doesn't seem like that trend is being challenged.
I think the reason for that is that there are a lot of politicians out there on both sides, both on the Republican and on the Democrat side. I would say in this particular instance, more on the Democrat side, because that's the way they just get people. They do stuff that brings them
Votes.
popularity. They say stuff that makes them look good. They're not doing it because they believe in it. Most of them are smart people if you think about it. I mean, they got elected, they
Right.
got that far in life,
Yeah.
and even if they appear like, you look at for
A-
example, Ilhan Omar, the
AOC.
crazy thing she said 2 days ago, every Trump rally is a Klan rally. How
Right.
crazy, how disrespectful it is to a lot of people, not only at the rallies, but actually people that know what real racism is from
Right.
back
What
in the
real
day.
clan parties look like, you know?
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
I've
It's
had
it
family that could talk about these things, you know? It's just
exactly. And
that's
the thing is, you can point finger at her all day and say, "Oh, she's stupid for saying all of this," and but she's a very smart woman because she says those things because those things resonate
right.
amongst the people who support people like Ilhan Omar, people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Nancy
Yeah,
Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all of those
right.
crazy people that
The
say crazy.
squad, they call them.
Yeah, you know.
This is so true. And you're right. They're solidifying, I should say, their base, you know?
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
people want to hear, oh, stricter gun control, because in the eyes of a woman, right? I'm thinking if there's better gun control, there's less gun activity.
yeah,
But that's not congruent with what actually happens on the streets. It just means good people are without guns.
yeah,
Bad people are left to determine whether or not they're going to get a gun.
yeah, exactly. If you look at, for example, statistics, just basic statistics, like for example, where most of the mass shootings happen, they all happen in gun-free zones, schools,
Yeah.
malls, you know, because criminals, they by definition are criminals. They break the
Yeah.
law. So if you, okay, you stop selling guns legally, all right. Well, will it stop a criminal from buying the gun illegally? No, it's really not that hard. And I mean, I've seen a lot of illegal gun sales living in South Bronx. I've seen it every day pretty much.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, and it's the guns that with scratched out serial numbers, the stolen guns. It is what it is. That's what criminals do. You can't blame something that was given by our founding fathers to protect the constitutional rights, take it away from good people, and then expect that somehow the crime rate will
Will go down.
go down.
Yeah, that's so true. Wow, it's just logic, right? It's just like, okay.
Pretty
Take away
much.
all the guns and hope and pray that the bad guys will be good. Let's do that.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Mm-mm.
But that sounds appealing, you know? It sounds
It
appealing. Something
does.
bad happens with a gun, you come out and you say, "No more gun violence. Let's
Yeah.
take away the guns. Take the guns off the street." And everybody's, "Wow, what?" Without actually even thinking.
Yes. No, you bring up a really good point because here I am thinking, oh, there's this huge conspiracy. You know, we're going to pluck all the guns little by little. But it's probably a lot more simple than that. I was listening to Valuetainment earlier today, and I love his show. He gets a lot of very educated people on, and he was talking to an economist. And the economist was saying, you know, the reason why capitalism, quote unquote, is suffering right now or is not working is not because of capitalism. It's because we've labeled socialistic economy to this to the idea of it being a capitalistic way of money exchange,
Mhm.
and it's not. And we won't own up to the fact that this is a socialistic economy that we're using. We keep bailing out companies with money that
Mhm.
we don't have, and we have politicians that keep running on that premise saying, you know, we're going to bail you out, we're going to bail you out.
Yeah.
And we're asking ourselves, why isn't this working? He says, because the businesses that are failing shouldn't get fake money in order to save themselves. We should let the whole scheme play out, let them declare bankruptcy, and then work with what we have. We're going to build them up as best as we can,
Mhm.
but allowing them to do that the same way they started. Businesses start with nothing. That's how it goes. You build up your business. You don't have to get funding to start a business. Typically, businesses start with no money. You make the money doing the business, right? So he said the reason why we're still stuck on this socialistic economy is because the politicians are running on this empty promise that they're going to bail you out no matter what. We're going to
Yeah.
take care of you. And these empty promises build votes. And so we keep having politicians in our system that are running our markets on a socialistic strategy, calling it capitalism. And
Yeah.
we're suffering because of it. And I think you're absolutely right. I think slogans work, you know, slogans
Yeah.
sell.
The political propaganda.
Yes, because
It's a
it
powerful.
sounds right. You know what I mean? It sounds good, and you're telling yourself these people know what they're talking about. You know, obviously they have to be standing on some type of truth because they're gonna have to back up their promise, you know? And yeah, they back it up, but you don't see the effects of their stance until years after they've taken position.
Exactly. And I mean that's the whole point of it. You know, you make a good statement that strikes as something really amazing, really good, that is very simple, that is very memorable, that the masses of the people will follow and do horrible things under that one statement, under that one slogan, and that's it. It's
Wow, that's really something. So I'll ask you this. With the way that American politics seems to be trending, and unfortunately, some things seem like they're polarizing us ridiculously. Um, do you, obviously, your show is about guns. Have you seen more enthusiasm about guns recently?
oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yes, the enthusiasm. interestingly,
All right.
interestingly, the whole enthusiasm started with this whole pandemic.
Really?
Yeah.
Like
Oh
this
yeah.
year?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Ooh.
But around March, as soon as this whole thing started happening, pretty much the same time the grocery stores started going blank.
Empty.
All the what's it called, sanitizers going.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
That's when the guns started to go too. Guns and ammo. And the crazy thing is, just in the store where I mean, I got plenty of comments regarding that, but just in that store where I do all the reviews,
Mhm.
there were at least 5 people who walked in and said the same exact thing.
Really?
I don't support guns. I don't support Second Amendment. I vote Democrat all the time, but I want to buy a gun because pandemic, because I'm scared for my life.
Because,
What? Not. It's gone. Absence.
wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy. So it's almost like it's in our blood. It's like it's in our American DNA. Like we don't even realize that we know we have the right to protect ourselves. And when X hits the fan, we're like, okay, we need to do something about this, you know? That's crazy. I'm thinking, okay, maybe when Trump started to run, that's when people were like, oh, like we're
Yeah,
gonna
no,
show our
that was a pandemic, and since pandemic, literally everything is gone. Right now, you pretty much cannot buy anything. Because I am an FFL myself. I just got my FFL, so I'm a dealer. I sell
yeah,
guns.
do it.
Um, from the wholesalers right now, there are maybe 1 or 2 types of pistols that are available
Wow.
in very strange caliber that normally
People don't even know much about.
nothing 9 millimeter, nothing 45 ACP, nothing like that. Ammo, nothing. You maybe can
Wow.
buy some shotguns.
Really? Like
Yeah.
at Walmart.
Yeah, Walmart's still selling but they
The
took it
low.
away from their floors, which
Yeah.
was kind of weird. I don't know
Weird.
why they
Yeah.
did it. I mean, you can see these big companies go more and more. I mean, in reality, they go anti-American more and more, right? But
Yeah.
they are bending under that leftist pressure,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
I'm sure you will experience more and more of it because I'm not even that big of anything, and I get at least 1 or 2 leftist morons
Going at it. Yeah.
going at it like it's their
Yeah.
life or death, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like this is just gonna bring us down as Americans to even talk about guns.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, whenever I talk to people, I always just try to encourage them to just keep talking because you are on the right side. You believe in it with your heart. It's not because you listen to CNN or you listen to MSNBC and those sort of
Yeah,
facts that you have.
right. It's so weird how you said it was just like instinctive. It was like the second things started to get crazy, it's like I need to be able to protect myself and my family.
Hmm.
And you act, even though you have all these messages in your head saying, no, no, these things are bad immediately. And I kid you not, it was the first time I ever purchased ammo myself. It was for my
Oh, very
dad.
nice. So what
Yeah.
kind of gun do you have? I
Um,
have to ask.
dang, what does he have? He's got He's got a 357.
357.
Yeah.
357 revolver or the
I think it's a revolver. I
okay.
don't think it's automatic.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have one automatic. It's like a 10 millimeter, I think. That's even
10
real.
millimeter automatic. Okay.
Yeah. And maybe two other ones. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
that much. But I know it's the 357's got the bigger
Yeah.
boom booms. Yeah.
357 Magnum. Yep.
And the
They're
other one
pretty
is just like it's if it's in your hand, it's really easy. He
yeah.
wants a bigger one, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And then that there I go again. I'm telling myself, no, that's not safe. This is a bad thing to have. Blase, blase, blase.
I mean, I have them just laying around my house.
Ooh, sorry, that was just so hot. Oh my goodness, that's so cool. Oh my goodness, that's so smooth, man. Like literally, like it's so bad. The brainwashing is so bad because when the name comes out, you're thinking that's a bad thing. Don't have one of those. But when you're freaked out, when you watch these riots,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? We need
Yeah.
to drop. We
And
need to
think
drop
about it.
some money on
Where do
something
these
like that.
riots and looting happen? In those blue states
In
where
those
there are
blue states, yeah.
those people that loot and riot, they know that people who live in those neighborhoods are defenseless.
That
That's
they're
why they do it.
defenseless. Yeah, that makes a lot of
Over
sense.
here, come over to this neighbor. I know my neighbors have guns. I have white family here, black family here, Mexican family. They all have guns. Come over to this neighborhood and try to loot. You know?
So don't mess with this, okay? And then you don't have problems.
Exactly.
You don't have problems. I'm in Florida. We don't have Black
Where in
Lives Matter
Florida are
issues.
you?
I'm in Jacksonville.
Jacksonville. All right, I'm in Fort Myers.
We're Myers. That's what's up. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, you're not far. You're not that far.
Kind of
I'm
neighbors.
thinking, yeah, pretty much. I'd be like, oh, no, they were like, hey. Oh my goodness. That's so cool. But yeah, so I was thinking you're probably in Texas just because of how comfortable you are with the whole gun situation. But
I'll be in New York with all those guys.
oh my
They're not gonna
goodness.
listen.
Yeah, I don't
They'll
know.
arrest me
Man.
in the airport.
It's like sorry, I thought this was Kansas. Yeah. Oh my
Right.
goodness. It's so funny, like, and I think a lot of people don't really I guess another question I would ask
Mhm.
is just location. I lived in Kentucky for about 10 months.
Mhm.
And when I say you can drive an hour and find a house that was built by hand, it had to have been built by hand, big old barn,
Mhm.
not next to any department store. I don't know where
Mhm.
they get their water from. They probably grow their own food. I am not kidding you. Like you will drive hours into the wilderness and find people living. These people are going to have guns.
Yeah.
Like you just know they're going to have guns. But then we start to believe that because we're in cities, where we're around a lot of other people, we're in communities,
Mhm.
that that's not as necessary.
Yeah.
So like what would you say to that kind of thought process? Like do you think that because that's always the argument, if you have a gun, a child might get a hold of it, they might get killed. If you're living in an area where people are so accessible to the gun, it's a revolving home door, other people are visiting, other children are coming in, how are you going to make sure they're protected? We got to keep the kids safe. What would you say to that? Like, it's true, we live in communities, you know what I mean, and we have more responsibility for our community because we have more people around us than the
Exactly.
person in the middle of the wilderness. So
Mhm.
what would you say to someone who brings that argument?
Yeah, I would say exactly this thing. The responsibility. You are surrounded by people. So if you can help someone, if you can help your neighbor, if you can help your friend who lives downstairs, why would you not want to have that opportunity? Why would you not want to have the
Right.
responsibility? And even if you don't know anybody and don't care about anybody, even more so. If you don't trust your neighbors, even more so.
Oh, that's
If you
true.
want to give up your responsibility and say, hey, I live in this crowded area, maybe somehow that will protect me from the crime. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Because the burglars, the killers, the rapists, all the criminals out there, they think, you know what, that community, there's too many people living there. In the middle of the night, they
We're
all
just
will
gonna
out their
bust
window.
in. But what you see is that when they raid a home, somebody's screaming, nobody comes.
Exactly. I mean, police, police, they're doing their job. That they have a lot of stuff going on, but you can rely on police in a way that by the time you call 911 and by the time somebody responds and comes, it's still, even if they're really close, even if it's only 3 minutes, those 3 minutes can be a matter of life or death. And
Yeah, that's
it's a matter
true.
of seconds, really.
It is.
And regarding whenever it comes to other people coming to your house and children especially, I think again, this is the question of responsibility because, well, depends on how old the children are. For example, I have a 10-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son, right? So my daughter, she's slowly
Coming
learning
to know
to
about this.
understand
Yeah.
the proper handling, take her to a range, shoot some 22 LRs, something small. Son obviously is too small to understand anything. So big stuff like this, I have a big
A closet.
walk-in closet that I converted into a safe. You can see the
Okay.
pin there.
Yeah,
So
I
I
was wondering what that was. I was
yeah.
like,
Yeah. And then they do have a lot of devices out there. For example, I've just seen one where it's a very, very simple thing. Basically, what it is kind of like a lock that gets into the chamber on the rifle,
oh,
and it
okay.
has a combination of the buttons that you press. You take it out, you release it. That's it. It's loaded and ready to go. Someone breaks
Sweet.
it. So your kid's not going to be
Wow.
able to unlock it or shoot it accidentally because they don't know the combination.
I got you.
And there are safes like this for pistols. You can keep the gun somewhere unreachable where no one really knows, and just there are plenty of devices to make it safe for children.
Right. It's like
But
telling.
again, responsibility. Are you a
Yeah,
responsible parent? Because guess what? In the kitchen, there are plenty of knives that your children can get
oh,
to. There are
it's
plenty
true.
of dangerous things around the house that your children can get to. Are you a responsible parent, or you're gonna say, "Oh, it's because of this thing. It's not my fault." You know,
Right. That makes perfect sense. There's an oven in the kitchen. You know,
exactly.
they could burn themselves in the oven.
You leave the
So you
boiling
shouldn't have
water on
an
a
oven.
pot, and
So it's more important to cook your food than it is to protect your home. That's what they're saying. It's like, oh, come on, guys.
I mean, you can try protecting yourself with a boiling pot of water. I don't know,
This
but
is true. This is true. This is very true.
more effective.
I think I have two more questions for you before we
Yeah.
close things. So number one, um, we're facing the possibility of a Biden administration.
Hmm.
How does the average American who understands these principles of having a way to protect yourself, what do you think is the best response? What I see a lot of people doing are buying guns.
Hmm.
Okay, and so the back of my head is thinking, well, if he just outlaws them, then that was kind of pointless. I mean, of course, maybe you can break the law and hide them. No, I'm saying anybody should break the law and hide their guns. But I'm thinking, is that the only thing to do? I don't think that's the best strategy. As a person who has so much of an understanding of why the Second Amendment is so important, what is a good strategy? Like, how do you protect the guns? You know what I mean? Like, the guns are protecting us. How do we protect the guns? Like, do we need to get more involved politically? Do we need to kind of like beat them to the chase or
Yeah.
the end of this? Beat the laws before they're even written.
Yeah. I think, like you said in your initial email that you sent me, it is the time like never before for people on the right, conservatives, Republicans, to come together.
Hmm.
I mean, we can have, there are plenty of different opinions and different from people from different places, different from different whatever,
Yes.
but we are all united by a few things, right? Love for our country. We love it.
Yes.
I'm as an immigrant, I don't know where I have been or if I even been if I wasn't here. You
Wow.
know,
That's awesome.
we all love freedoms. We want as much freedoms as possible. We want to
Right.
do whatever we want to do, and I think American Constitution allows us
Yes.
freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. We can be anybody, whoever we want.
Right.
You know, some people go crazy, and guys start wearing dresses because they can.
Because they can.
This is America.
Now. Oh,
There are a lot of people from a lot of different whatever, beliefs.
yes, it is true.
But at the end of the day, we all have things that we stand for.
Yes.
Respect and love, and we want to keep it that way. That's why we're
Yes.
conservatives, because we want to keep these freedoms in place. So I think we need to overcome our differences in small things that
Okay.
are less important, set our priorities straight, concentrate on the big things, and come together and stand for each other, and try to, if someone is speaking on behalf of these conservative values, help them out. Because
Right.
I feel like we are at the point of media war, especially the social media.
Yes.
I don't think Democrats would have gotten that crazy or would have gotten that far if it wasn't for the social media age.
Oh, okay.
Because all of that
Okay.
comes out, because who uses social media for the most part? It's the young people. And
Mhm.
young people are easier to brainwash, and most of them are brainwashed by all of these crazy liberal ideas.
Yes, in schools.
Exactly, in the education system. So they go home, they open up the Facebook, they open up the Instagram, and it's just a wave, and they keep sharing all of this dumb things and spreading them.
Yeah.
So I don't think Democrats would have been that successful if it wasn't for social media. And that's why you see social media bending over for Democrats as well, like Facebook, Twitter. You see
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Instagram.
It's true. That is so
You
true.
know,
They've absolutely caved. You can see in this election. Every
exactly.
headline
Yeah.
about the election has a disclaimer at the bottom. No matter what you
Yeah. You can
post.
just say Trump, and it's going to be, oh, Joe Biden is a projected winner.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. And anything that counters that is either
Fact
taken
check.
down or
The other
hidden.
day, I saw a person on my friend list on Facebook. They shared, it was like a statistic about the COVID-19, and it said that the survival rate of COVID-19 is 99.9, right?
Yeah.
And it was fact checked and blurred out, the way it does, see
Right.
why. So, okay, you know what? I'll check it out. So I go there, I open up the article, and it's one of those Reuters, whoever liberal,
Yes, it is. It routes you
unbiased.
to. Right.
So they say it's actually not 99.9, it's actually 99.87.
There you
Wow.
go. We've been fact checked. Thank you,
You
Facebook.
make a point.
I
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
That really
I
matters.
was 0.1 off.
0.0 matters.
Very interesting.
But that brings me to the point where, because I started talking about the young people and how they're so active on social media. Conservatives, Republicans, most of the times they're very passive. They're
Yes.
just passive people. That's it.
Yes.
It's just the way it is. I think we have to adapt, and we need to start fighting
Oh.
this media war.
On
And
their platform.
exactly. Add each other to the groups, be friends with each other, share each other's posts, speak up. If
Yes.
someone you don't agree with, if someone's trying to troll you, don't be afraid to speak out and
To talk
yeah,
and to
talk.
challenge that. Candace
Exactly.
Owens is suing Fact Check.
I love Candace Owens. She is
Yes.
a fighter, and we need more people like that.
We really do. She's really allowing common sense to come into the equation. Because in our minds, we're thinking, oh, it's a huge corporation. They're going to do what they want. But she's like, no, this is an assault on our ability to distribute information. And on the premise of them fact checking things that can't be fact checked. They're trying to fact check opinions.
Mhm.
They're trying to fact check theories.
Yeah.
They're trying to fact check suggestions. You can't fact check these things, okay? So it's a crisis, but when you just use your brain, it's like, well, yeah. On their premise of fact checking, they're saying on the basis of facts, which by far they don't have authority to determine what's fact and what's not, unless they're themselves scientists or doctors, and they're not. You know, they're talking about facts, and then they're routing to their perspective, their position.
Biased.
Yeah, they're
Opinion.
biased, exactly. No, that doesn't equate as you referencing, an article that's substantial to tell me that I'm wrong on a possible fact, it's a I'm not even offering it as if I'm an authority on the situation. This is just something that I found that I wanted to share. There's nothing
Yeah,
wrong with that, you know.
exactly. And
um
one of the reasons, if you think about it, why Donald Trump won in 2016 is because he adapted and took it to the next social media level. It was the conservative memes. He was killing the game.
yeah,
Donald Trump Jr., he was killing the game with conservative memes. I mean, they're still doing it.
they
Active on
are.
Twitter, you know, that's how everybody, we have to follow that and we have to do it because this is a media war and we need to stay on
Yeah,
top of it.
I think you're right because they know where to fight. Democrats know where they will win, and we are not privy to that. So they know they're going to win in the youth and that the next
Mhm.
generation of people to come and that assume positions of power, right? They target academia because they know those are going to be the future lawyers, the future engineers, the future parliament leaders. And they
Mhm.
literally brainwash them. Ivy League schools will not teach sound economics. They teach these kids that fiat money is okay,
Yeah.
that banks taking loans and separating the same amount of money into two different areas, which is basically doubling money based on nothing. If you put
Yeah.
$1,000 in a bank, it should be $1,000. They make it $2,000 and they invest it twice. That's
Ex-
not math, okay? But they're telling these kids that that's okay. Fiat money is fine. No, you're having loans on air. It's loans on air. It's not real. It's fiat. It's fake. But
yeah.
they're not giving these kids truth, and it's the ones that are in the most predominant schools, the ones that are going to have big influences because they're just going to take over their parents' companies, you know. um, that's a strategy that's working. Unfortunately, they know where to start, and we're just not geared to that, you know. We like raising our kids and taking care of local issues, which is all great, but you have to work with this bigger mindset of, I don't know what you want to call it, but they're coordinated, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people need to maybe have a little educational trip through history
Ooh,
of a communist USSR and see how Nazi Germany, if you want to see propaganda and how it was used during the Nazi Germany, how,
interesting.
yeah, because a lot of tactics that left uses today, you can find in history that already happened in Nazi Germany, in Soviet USSR, in the Soviet Union.
Wow.
It's infiltrating the educational system to exactly do that, brainwash children. It's infiltrating the media sources. um, even today, back where I came from, it's a state media. There is no private media. We don't have any. Well, they
Oh, really?
they don't
Oh,
have any
dang.
more private channels. It's all state owned. And if you are, I mean, obviously, whatever you're showing, it has to be state approved.
Approved, right.
And in the news, if there is something bad happened, gas station exploded, or whatever, before they put it on the news, they have to go through government approval of what they report. Do they report the real 140 people died, or do they just say, no, two people
A
got injured,
handful of people. Oh my goodness.
which
Are you serious?
happened
Are
many
you
times,
serious?
many
Wow.
times.
That's scary. And I don't think we realize the grip of social media and propaganda and how that can have an impact on our future years. That's really interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, just with this whole pandemic thing, just look at all of these slogans: stay home, save lives,
Yes,
stay
social
6 feet
distance.
apart. It's Soviet Union.
Conditioning.
If you look at the
Yeah.
slogans in Soviet Union, you will see, don't talk, your
Really?
neighbor is not your friend.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Okay. No, no,
Try
no, no,
to
no, 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 no.
spy.
Yeah.
They try to keep people separate. They try to keep people apart, not discussing ideas, not
Mhm.
discussing politics. Because whenever people are all separated, 6 feet apart with a
Right.
mask,
With a
you
mask,
don't
you
know
don't
what they're
talk about
talking about.
anything. Yeah. Then they can really,
That's how you get the control. It's easier to get the control of
it's
people
easier
like
to get
that.
control. Wow. Okay, so one last question. One last very quick question. If you
Of
could
course.
say anything to people who are
Yeah.
leery about guns, just what would you
Leery.
tell them? What would you tell them?
Leery about guns. Maybe like,
Yeah,
you mean like
they
they're
feel like
like,
they're not safe.
they feel like they're not safe if they have a gun.
Yeah.
Well, I think again, it's really a matter of responsibility. It's fine. Really, it is fine. You know, if whoever is watching this and you are leery and you are somewhere and someone is trying to commit a crime against you, if I'm there, I will protect you. I will save you because I
Wow.
have a gun on
Right.
me. You know,
Yeah.
just hope that I'm there. Just pray that I'm there. Or a person
There
like
you
me.
go.
You know, if you don't
Yeah.
want to take responsibility yourself
Then
for your
just
life,
hope and
for your
pray that
family, for your
Mr.
kids,
Valentine
for
will
your
be
neighbors,
there.
for your friends, exactly. You know, just hope that a good guy with a gun is there.
Wow. I
That's
like that. Exactly. If you don't want to take the responsibility, then just hope that
and just hope, yeah.
someone's willing to do it.
Because police is not coming on time. You know,
Right.
nobody's
Yeah.
gonna attack you and then wait 3 minutes for cops to show up.
Wow. That is awesome. Thank you so much. I really learned so much from this talk. This was wonderful.
Robin, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
This is awesome.
Pleasure talking.
We got to do it again, and I'm going to recommend your channel to everyone.
Absolutely, absolutely. There are a few events happening. Trump rallies in Fort Myers. I think there is one in December 13.
Okay.
I think it's a parade. I'm not sure.
Really?
But
That's
yeah,
so
but if you're
cool.
interested, I can send you the links
Yeah,
if you want to come out
absolutely. I'd love to
to our
share
area.
that.
Wow.
So December 13th.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm going to pass the word on. Thank
sounds
you so
good.
much, Mr. Valentine. I appreciate it. This was awesome.
Alrighty, Miss Robin. Alrighty, you have a great night.
We'll
Nice
talk
talking to you.
later. Bye.
Alrighty, bye-bye.